My video series on the correspondence team match played between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 122. Our man is cdclf versus Sandman 5. Rating advantage about low 1800s versus mid 1600s or thereabouts. Our man won both games, but possibly could have lost them both. One of the ideas that attracted me to correspondence chess way back in 1980, not only did I have a friend playing it, but one thing I realized, if you're playing a real game in front, live chess game in front, someone in front of you, it's not uncommon to get a winning position, particularly against a stronger player, and then suddenly see him fight back and take you down. And it's kind of frustrating that happens. It does make you want to improve, and one way to make you want to help you improve is to play correspondence chess, because now when you get the winning position, you have time to sort the complications out and secure the point. And in this case, White's going to get Sandman 5 is going to get the better game in both games, and yet it's going to slip away from him. So what are the remedies for this? Well, slow down. I mean, these aren't time-stamped. We don't know how long. Even if somebody takes 3 days to move, they could have 600 games going and just bring up the game that they're playing at the time, look at it, make a move, and move on. I mean, you can just look around at the various players and see how many games they have going. Everyone's playing way too many. Well, not everyone, but a lot of them. Anyway, let's have a look at this game and see how it turns out. So now we get a Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation, and here White, it's not a bad move, but it's not really a good move. Main line is just play Bishop G5, and White will preserve the advantage of the first move, Black will equalize, and everything's hunky-dory. But anyway, White chooses to play E3. As I say, it's not a bad move per se, except it misses the chance to go into the main line, and Black is shutting his bishop in. Okay? This is not good. You don't want to restrict your own pieces on the first few moves. Yet I see this happen in countless games played between amateurs. Okay, so both sides are developing their pieces, and now I don't necessarily criticize the rook pawn moves after a piece has gone to the square. In this case, it does weaken G3 a bit, so it's not necessarily a bad move, but Black is correct to maintain the pin. Okay, rook E1. They're both there. White decides to break the pin. And here I think Black went into E4 just a little too quick. What he wants to do is finish this back rank development first. Okay, E4 is not going away. If White wants to keep Black out of E4, he's going to have to move his knight and push his pawn to F3. That'll weaken E3. I think better is to play this knight here, because ideally Black would like to recapture on E4 with a piece, not with a pawn. And we will see. Okay, so now knight D2, and now one possibility for Black is to play bishop G6, and should White liquidate on E4, Black will maintain a piece on E4, be able to take back with a piece, but he would have parted with his bishop. So he opts to exchange here. But now, the one drawback that Black has is he'd like to be able to play knight in one shot, knight here and knight here, but he can't. And now White is going to take that E4 square away from a Black piece, and it suddenly changes things. Now, why does this make a difference? Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'm going to burn a move for White. It's not a good move, but it's something that White might play in a similar type position. And I'll show you where I'm going with this in a second. Now let's take on E4, and here I'm going to show you the difference of what happens when Black takes back with a piece. Okay, the exchange variation of the Queen's Gambit declined often leads to the minority attack, and that's exactly what we have here. There are fewer pieces on the board, but white, and I've covered this in a lot of videos, white's objective is to advance a pawn to b5, and one of two things will happen. If black takes, black gets an isolated queen pawn. If black doesn't take, white takes on c6 and gives black either an isolated queen pawn if he takes with a piece, or a backward pawn on the open file if he takes back with his pawn. And meanwhile, black is supposed to do the same thing on this side of the board with the exact same things I just illustrated. So this gives black a plan. This is why you want to take back on e4 with a piece, because you maintain this minority attack. Now, the game theoretically is still pretty much even. White's bishop isn't doing him much good, but white has basically no structural weaknesses. So this is one of the reasons why I was saying black should have been developing his queen side before he got into e4 with his knight. So let's back it up to the point where he doesn't play rook b1, but he does take, whoops, wrong move. He does take this, and now the chance for a minority attack for both sides is gone. Now, black is still slightly for choice here, simply because of this entombed bishop. But this is going to change here. Now, this looks a little odd because here it's weakening the dark squares around the white king. So black tries to exploit it. Drives the rook onto an open file. And now he gets his knight over to e4, but he suddenly discovers, to his horror, there's a tactical shot. He can't take back the pawn. Black timidly retreats his bishop because he sees that if he takes, he steps right into a fork. Queen f3 hits bishop, rook, and f7. And there's no way black can cover them all. So, black retreats the piece, and now he's simply a pawn down. And let's see, move forward. So, even though white's a pawn up, this bishop needs to get into play. And I think white dropped the ball here. Let's see. e4 certainly looks appealing. And the reason for this move is you want to activate this bishop, okay? What's white going to do? Or black going to do? Take the knight? Well, that doesn't really help him much. Black's still down a pawn, and white's got a half-open b file if he wants it. He's got the half-open f file if he wants it, and he's got squares for his bishop. So instead of playing e4, black opts to come to f3, and that certainly looks fine, attacking a pawn with a tempo threat with check. And what does black do? Black stops and takes that knight. Whoops. Well, now black's going down a second pawn, and really has absolutely no compensation for it. Black should win this game. I'm sorry, not black. White should win this game. I'm hitting the wrong button. Let's go this way. And here, we still see this little structural flaw here. White needs to get e4 in, but he can't right now unless he wants to drop a pawn. See, black's looking for counterplay. Now, white doesn't want to take here. That'll destroy his pawn mass. But now, because white has delayed getting e4 in, black has struck the center back first. And now, even though it looks like the bishop is well placed here, and it has cleared the back rank, the bishop's not really doing much, because these white pawns have been immobilized. White can't push them forward without losing one of them. And, well, let's see. Suppose he could try c4 here. c4 certainly looks, well, it's a little tricky. These pawns want to advance, but they can't advance too quick without losing one. So black or white just has to sit there with his pawns just like they are and can't do much. So black's been able to generate some counterplay against them. But white's going to manage to bungle this game here very shortly. Now black weakens his own king position. That probably wasn't wise, but what else do you do? And here, black just misses, or white just misses his chance for a clear, to maintain his clear advantage. I mean, if you were to give this position to 100 chess players and say, white to play, what move do you play? I mean, we're not looking for a win. I think almost all of the 100 players are going to play the natural-looking rook a f1. It does a lot. Okay, the first threat is it's threatening to play rook f8, and it's forcing black into a bad game. If you play rook e8, here comes rook f7. What's black going to do here? And queen g7 clearly is exchange queens and go down to a winning ending. Rook g7 just looks bad. If this diagonal somehow opens up, this rook is misplaced. There's going to be a pin against it. I mean, this is absolutely crushing for white. White can just slowly improve his position and win at his leisure. But instead, white manages to get himself a strategically lost game in just a couple of moves. Instead of playing the natural rook af1, now this is where I say, this is the kind of thing that can happen to you over the board. Over the board, you think you see something, you do something, and it doesn't work out. But in a correspondence game, you stop, you figure things out. So here's what white does. I'd mentioned he shouldn't mess up his pawn structure, but now he does. And that enables black to grab a pawn in the center, and suddenly that black bishop has come to life. It's now a useful defensive piece. It's covering a lot of problems that could have occurred on this long diagonal. It's attacking another pawn. It's attacking a rook. I mean, just the fact that maybe there's some discovery possibilities on this rook don't really give white enough here. And white immediately bungles the game. Rook e4, safeguarding his rook. Now he's off that open f file. Nobody's on it. And black just has a little tactic to win the exchange. And boom, there it is. Now, let's take a quick stock. White has, 6 pawns? Black has 4. From pawn count chess, that's enough. But his pawn structure is in trouble here. And he tries to generate some kind of threat on the long diagonal. But black just counters it. And white can't do enough on the long diagonal. And there goes one pawn, and black has a strategically winning game, and gets his king out of potential danger. Gets that rook into play, and now white meekly allows the queen trade, and this just leads to a quick disaster. Now it's clear to see if king back, the rook is going to come down here, and there's all kinds of problems. But going forward doesn't help, because there's going to be a checkmate here, and it's forced. Rook f5, and how does white avoid checkmate? He gets to throw a rook away. That's what he gets to do. And a bishop, I suppose. Let's see. The threat is rook h5 mate. And the only move to stop it is to play here. I mean, what good is this? You're going to give him a bishop too. Now, if somehow white had managed to get rid of these pawns, this would be a little trick for a stalemate, but we're not close. Okay, so that was white's game to be had, and he let it slip. Let's clear the board, load up the other one. I always wonder what move it's going to start us at. It's also a 37 mover. And it went to move 15, or no, move 13. Okay. Sicilian defense. This is probably a little premature, but I don't think white handled it correctly. And you'd have to look it up in the books to see the exact proper choice. But this is an interesting interesting line. I actually like this because this eliminates black's light squared bishop. And here's where I say White didn't think White handled it correctly. He played knight f3. Now, perfectly good move, but I like the idea of knight f5 because knight f5 puts it on a nice outpost. It's pressuring d6. It's pressuring g7. Black can't put his bishop on e7. It induces black to play g6, and then White has the nice happy choice of putting his knight on e3, and suddenly White's getting ready to sink his grips into this outpost on d5. Strategically, I think this is fine for White. So, I mean, knight f3 is not a bad move, but it doesn't really do much. And that's White's problem here as this opening continues. White doesn't do much, and Black actually does something here. Black's got that little structural weakness on d6, but that's a very difficult thing to exploit. Now Black's able to get rid of his bad bishop, and he does. And, look, Black's actually ahead in development. Black's developed 2 knights and a queen. White's developed 1 knight and a queen. Well, that changes. Now, this rook-pawn push doesn't seem to matter. I mean, it seems to be necessary. You do want to prevent a knight b5 move because there's pressure on d6. But White in turn pushes his rook-pawn, and I don't see how that really helps White. As a matter of fact, I think it really weakens the White pawn structure. There could be some plans of knight here and knight here in the offing once Black's development is complete. But Black opts to try to open up some lines, and White castles and Black castles, and development's even. But what's White's plan here? The only target he has is d6, and Black is ready to cover that with rook f6. So if rook ad1, rook f6, White could maybe consider a move like knight a4 with the idea of dropping into b6, but that's easy to deal with. White doesn't really have a lot going, especially with the bishops coming off the board. White opted to trade 1 set early and then didn't take advantage of the absence of a light squared bishop. And Black found a quick opportunity to get rid of the dark squared bishops. And, Black's the aggressor here. So, if you develop a rook at some point, Black will stop and play rook f6, but Black may be getting ready to play f4, and then it's Black who's maybe attacking on the king side. Okay, so White makes an exchange which develops a Black rook. Now it does give Black 3 pawn islands, but Black's got a very mobile game here, and still White's not showing anything, and Black starts redeploying his forces over towards the king. And now, not quite sure if that was all that accurate. See, just develop this rook. Come over here. Get it in play. Get it ready to do things, The 2 Black rooks are mobile. The 2 White rooks aren't. Make White prove that he can hold on to this position. Okay, so I don't think b5 does much except hand White the move. And now Black gets this, but this is working out for Black. He gets this nice pawn center. And here, what happens, White sets a little trick, and Black doesn't see it. The trick is to play knight d4 relying on a pin. So it's not so much that Black missed this trick. It's that his next move just ignored it altogether. Didn't even see it coming, because what Black plays is e4, and that allows White this fork, and now suddenly White's going to win the game. So what would have been better choice for Black? Well, how about queen f6? See the threat, see these things coming. Now, what's White going to do? Let's try a move. Let's put this rook on the open file. Well, then comes e4. Now we're going to put the knight. f2's falling. right? So we can't play rook c1. Do we really want to play rook back to f1? I don't know. Let's try rook e2. Well, there can still come this move. And let's see. Now rook here. And, you know, we're getting ready to play rook here with a nice attack coming. Other possibilities. Let's see. Suppose white tries to get out of it with a queen trade. Well, black still plays this move, removing the defender. And if the knight moves, you lose the queen. So you have to stop and take here. And you know, once again, I think black is for choice here. You know, knight here. Let's see. Bring the rook over. This knight can come to g6. It's ready to hop to f4. You know, it just seems like black's got the better game here in all variations. But instead, he just pitches the exchange, and he can't recover. So, you know, it wasn't necessarily a winning game for black. I'm just saying it had winning possibilities. And now white just happily develops his pieces. Black assists him by allowing a queen trade. And the game's pretty hopeless for black. And here comes a check. And here, white misses a way to finish him off real quick. Just play rook here, followed by rook here. And, you know, they're going to win this knight. Black might generate a little play with this pawn, but not too much. It's going to be stopped. Kicks it back. And here, white misses this move again. Rook g8 wins the knight, because if you move the knight, well, here, I'll just show you. If you move the knight, you get checkmated. Game over. Bang. So white missed that, but you know, white's up the exchange in a pawn. I guess he can afford a luxury or two. But you do want to win games precisely when you can. You never know when your opponent's going to come clawing back. And at this point, black decided to resign. Probably it's about the same number of moves as the other game, and he realized that this one would be over soon. Anyway, you know, there is some luck at chess, in correspondence chess, the way it's played online, simply because too many people are moving too quick. And what's the hurry? You know, take your time and play a good game of chess, and learn while you're doing it. And as I say, you know, if you take your time and slow down, your rating will go up. It has to, because you're not going to blunder like you used to. And what happens when your rating goes up? Gee, you get to meet stronger players than you did before. And even if you lose to them, you're learning from them. I mean, correspondence chess is just win, win, win all across the board. Anyway, thanks so much for your time. I'll be back with another video very soon. Take care.